Oh boy, Miami getting beaten up again to start the third period, and the Heat now down by 7 as they'll take a timeout. Got it, Nowitzki! He pumps the fist knowing that could be the dagger. The Miami Heat get beat on their home floor.
The 2011 finals saw the Miami Heat lose in stunning fashion to a Mavericks team that wasn't expected to sniff the finals, let alone defeat this Heat super squad in their first year together. After Miami dismantled the #1 seed Chicago Bulls, led by MVP Derrick Rose, it seemed like it was destiny for them to win the title, and for LeBron to capture his first ever championship. After an entire year of hearing some absolutely vitriol comments and endless hostility towards the self-proclaimed king without a crown,
and for him to go on there and drag us through the mud for 7 years and stab us in the heart, he deserves everything he gets. I hope he never wins anything in Miami. He is dead to me.
Everyone yearned to see him fail and see him put in his place, to see him humbled. That's what happened in the 2011 finals when they lost, and LeBron had the worst playoff series of his career. Not just by his numbers, but his passiveness and his total lack of urgency that you should never see from the so-called best player in the league. It subsequently led to an entire year of celebration for LeBron losing. As petty as it seemed, people rooted for him to fail. Fast forward a year later to the 2012 playoffs, and once again, the Miami Heat were on the brink of elimination. But then, something changed. A single shot, followed by a single comment, triggered something within LeBron that eventually became the turning point of his NBA career. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and in this video, let's take a detailed look at this single moment that changed LeBron's career forever. Entering the 2012 playoffs, there were several headlines worth paying attention to across the NBA landscape. For one, the injury to Derrick Rose in the first round of the playoffs. This injury not only signified the end of the Bulls' championship aspirations, but also the downfall of Derrick Rose. Out west, San Antonio was making waves, sweeping the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, while the upstart Oklahoma City Thunder became the second youngest team in history to reach the finals. However, the real story was out east, and all eyes were on one player in particular. There's no adjective that can describe the amount of pressure burdened on the shoulders of LeBron James. After a stunning upset in the finals the previous year, he came back with a vengeance, and the Heat were well equipped with a brand new game plan where they revolutionized the term small ball. Before the Warriors, it was the Heat who dominated with a 5-out offense. Everyone slashing and dishing put so much pressure on their opponents to the point of breaking apart even the most elite defenses. The transition of Chris Bosh to center was what started this trend. On paper, the Heat envisioned Bosh as the perfect guy to play center. Long, athletic, can shoot, can switch onto smaller guys and defend, and he has no ego. He's willing to do whatever it takes to help his team win. Unlike LeBron, who didn't seem that upset after losing in 2011, Bosh was extremely upset, even seen crying in the locker room after the loss. Despite often being the scapegoat, Bosh reformed his playstyle and sacrificed his numbers for the benefit of the team. But it wasn't him who people truly cared about. It was, of course, LeBron. With the fall of the Chicago Bulls, everyone started looking at Miami and wondering if LeBron can finally capture that elusive championship. However, even with the Bulls out of the picture, their journey back to the finals would be much tougher than anticipated.
Miami was outscored by 14 points in the third quarter as Indiana goes on to blow out the Heat 94-75.
In the second round of the playoffs, they got pushed to the brink of exhaustion by a new face in the East, the Indiana Pacers. Led by rising young star Paul George, along with a bevy of hardened veterans, the Heat found themselves down 2-1, including back-to-back games of scoring just 75 points as a team. It was honestly a disgrace. A super team with this amount of absurd talent scoring 75 points in back-to-back games? Oh, you could hear Heat fans in dismay, thinking, oh no, not again. Are we going to get embarrassed again? We held our breaths for a little bit, but the Heat managed to turn it around and win 3 straight games en route to the conference finals. The Pacers were a tough test, but there were alarming signs when it came to the Heat's offense, which routinely faced long periods of stagnation. Fans felt relief they got past the Pacers, but it was harder than it should have been. Now we reached the conference finals. This is where they would meet a familiar foe, and this is where it happened. The moment that triggered something within LeBron's inner being, and it changed his life forever. Coming into the series against Boston, the Heat were expected to triumph with ease, just like they did in the previous year. But this Celtics team was different. Not only did they retool their team and added some more productive role players, but they knew that this was their last chance to make a run at the championship. This was the last year they were fully healthy, and their big three can only get older from here. So if there was any possible way for them to topple the Miami Heat, this was the time. Game 5 was a slugfest, an ugly, slow-paced game, with both teams fighting to maintain control, ending in a halftime score of 42-40. In the Heat locker room at halftime, Erik Spoelstra told his entire team, but with specifically a glance towards LeBron, "If you want this, go and get it. No one's gonna hand this to you." This series represented 2 opposite ends of the spectrum, an aging super team using everything they have left in the tank, against a new super team desperately trying to prove they belong among the greatest teams of all time. The second half of Game 5 picked up the pace, and it went a lot smoother for both teams. And now we get to 1 minute left in the game. Celtics up 1, Celtics ball. If they score here, the Heat will have a very hard time recovering. The ball goes to Paul Pierce in isolation, one-on-one mano-a-mano versus LeBron James.
Pierce for 3. It's good! Paul Pierce from way downtown! And Boston leads by 4!
Dagger. In Pierce's trademark fashion, he stares down his defender and hits the three-point shot right in the face of LeBron. Then he walks to the bench while constantly talking smack. According to an NBA columnist who heard what was said, apparently Pierce yelled at LeBron, "I got your 5, 6, 7 right here, bitch." It was a slight at LeBron's original comments that he'd win
not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6.
So this comment by Pierce ignited a fire within LeBron. But it was this play in particular that made him realize he needed to change the way he approached the game. On paper, if you put Paul Pierce in isolation against LeBron at the peak of his prime, and being arguably the best defensive version of LeBron we've ever seen in a perfect defensive stance, it should not be a good play for the Celtics to run when they already have the lead with a minute left. LeBron has the size, speed, and age advantage over Pierce. Yet Pierce had the confidence and mentality to demand the last shot. It was like giving LeBron the middle finger, like, "Hey, I don't respect you, LeBron, and I don't respect your defense. I'm going at you one-on-one." This play, however, represented more than just that. Back in those years, Pierce had the mentality that LeBron was lacking, the mentality that you don't have to always run the right play. You sometimes just need to give the ball to your best scorer and let him go to work. All the derogatory comments by Pierce just added fuel to the fire, with an already hostile relationship between the two. Their rivalry goes back to 2008, when Pierce and LeBron went head-to-head 40-point duels. Yet the Celtics would always triumph against LeBron's much inferior supporting cast. Now, even with the most help LeBron has ever had, it was on the brink of happening yet again. Anyway, the Celtics closed out Game 5, and now they lead the series 3-2, heading back to Boston for Game 6 to close out Miami on their home floor.
Legacies are at stake.
Is this the end of the big three? This could be it. I'm not picking them to win Thursday night. I'm not doing it.
I don't think he'd have a chance.
LeBron James.
Prior to Game 6, everyone was already expecting Miami to lose. Once again, the critics were as loud as ever, doubting LeBron's mental fortitude to take over the game at will. It's been a recurring theme since he joined Miami, but it wasn't just the team being on the verge of elimination. This entire Miami Heat super team was on the verge of crumbling. Had Miami gone another year without the championship, there would have been serious implications on reconstructing the roster. According to LeBron himself, he stated, "My mentality was if we lose, Pat Riley may break us all up, and I didn't want that. It might be the quickest breakup in basketball history." In reality, it would have probably been Bosh getting traded, because he's been in trade rumors all year. Or maybe it would be Eric Spoelstra getting fired, because there were also rumors of that all year. Looking back, either of these two decisions would have been disastrous for the franchise. So basically, there was a scenario where if they don't win in 2012, and they get rid of one of those guys or both of them, they don't win a single championship in this era, and LeBron's legacy will forever be tainted. Nevertheless, there was something different in the air when LeBron stepped foot in the Garden for Game 6. No handshakes, no eye contact with anyone, no reaction at all after every time he scored. What the entire crowd witnessed can only be described as a man possessed.
Night before Game 6, saying I can't let it end this way.
James around Pierce all the way to the rim and a tomahawk right-hand slam.
Inside jumper is good. LeBron James on the run, gets inside, count it, and one.
His expression has not changed from the minute he came out of the locker room tonight for Game 6.
LeBron orchestrated a masterclass of a performance. And to this day, it's still the greatest game he's ever had in the history of his illustrious career. And the greatest game I've ever seen live. What he truly unlocked, however, is a complete disregard for everything he's been taught. LeBron, for his entire life, was taught to play basketball the, quote, right way. If a player is open, he passes him the ball. If his teammate has a mismatch, he runs a play to help him score. This is how he plays basketball. But by being unselfish, he gets labeled as being passive and lacking the desire to carry his team when they need him. This time, though, LeBron answered the call. 45 points, 19 for 26 from the field, 15 rebounds, complete control of the game from start to finish. Bill Simmons, who watched the game with his entire family, wrote a mesmerizing article on LeBron's Game 6 performance. Remember Grantland, before it became The Ringer? Yeah, that article would soon become the greatest article ever written on Grantland. Simmons recited what he saw. As the shots started going in, swish, 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 it's like Miami realized, oh yeah, the Celtics don't have anyone who can guard LeBron James. And more important, LeBron realized it. He stopped worrying about sharing the ball, getting teammates involved, swinging it to the open man, being liked. He single-handedly murdered one of the giddiest Celtics crowds I can remember. 30 points in the first half. 30. All with that blank look on his face. It was like watching surveillance video of a serial killer coldly dismembering a body and sticking the parts in the fridge. This wasn't just an elimination game. This was LeBron's entire career being put on trial. There's no other description as perfect as the one that Bill Simmons gave in regards to how everyone felt while watching him. The Miami Heat tied the series at 3 games each, and then closed them out in Game 7 back in Miami. They would go on to triumph against an inexperienced Thunder team as LeBron captured his first ever championship, finally putting an end to all the mockery. In hindsight, there were so many things that if it happened just slightly differently, maybe LeBron would have never unlocked his full potential. If he never witnessed Pierce hit a 3 right in his face and mock him right after, would he still have the same hunger for revenge in Game 6? Well, maybe not. Maybe he won't have the same urgency to play the way he did, cause there's nobody to trigger that anger inside of him. Paul Pierce once claimed that he's the reason why LeBron reached a whole new level. You know, some folks were kind of laughing at him for saying this, for taking credit for LeBron's success. But he actually has a point. Even if Pierce didn't intend to do that, he is a primary reason for LeBron's Game 6 performance. There's an alternate reality where the Celtics win another championship and the Heat win nothing, cause this roster would have seen major changes if they lost. Because of Pierce and all the headlines that made a mockery of his ambitions to win his first championship, it became, dare I say it, personal with LeBron, along with crushing every negative perception we've all had of him. Anyway, that's all folks. Do y'all remember watching the series back in the day? It was a moment we'll look back on in history as the turning point of LeBron's NBA career. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think the Heat would have done if they lost to the Celtics in 2012? Do you truly believe LeBron could have left Miami with no championships? Would Spoelstra be fired and never be known as the great head coach he'd soon become? Thank you all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.